Hi, I'm Scott Church, and today we're talking about depth of field and focus. As a fine art photographer, as a glamour photographer, I use a shallow depth of field as one of my most common composition tools. I use it to isolate my subject. I use it to make you look at what I want you to look at in the frame. If there's only one thing in focus in the frame, well then that thing is the thing that you're going to look at. Now I achieve a shallow depth of field by using a low f-stop. A low f-stop on a lot of my lenses is f1.8, but anything on the low end of the left of the f-stop side will give you a shallower depth of field than any higher f-stop. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you a few different examples of the differences between a low f-stop and a high f-stop and how to use them to your advantage. And I'm also going to show you how the focus really works, because a lot of times people think about, they set their focus on one certain spot. Like if you're doing a portrait, you want to focus on the eyes. People think about the eyes being the only thing that's in focus, but in reality, depth of field isn't dependent on just one spot. Everything that is one distance, that distance, your focal length distance away from the camera, all of those things are going to be in focus. So you have to think of your focus as a flat plane, a focal plane. So if I focus on my eyes in a frame, well then everything that is equidistant away from the camera to my eyes will all be in focus. Not just here, but all the way out here too. And when you have a higher f-stop, that depth of field goes from this wide to this wide or that wide. So if you go from f1.8 to f16, a lot more stuff is going to be in focus in your frame. Let me show you some examples. All right, so what we're trying to do here is we're trying to explain how focus actually works. First of all, I set up this little display here of, well, I don't want to say that we're pushing for a Patron sponsorship, but, we've spent a lot of money with you people. Anyway, that's not the point. I'm focusing on the forward bottle. So that forward bottle is now crisp and sharp. If I change that focus, you can watch the focus roll down the bottles. Like that. And now I'm focused past that far away bottle, and I can bring my focus all the way back up to the front bottle. Now let me show you another example, because what we really need to talk about here is not just where we're focusing, but it's about focal distance. The distance of your subject away from the camera. And if we move the camera, that focal distance stays consistent all the way down the line of bottles. Now this is at f1.8. So if we move that back, you can see the focus changing to that forward bottle again, all the way back to the back. Now that's at f1.8. 60th of a second, f1.8, ISO 1/60th. Now let me show you that focus roll one more time, all the way down the line of bottles, just by changing the focal distance. Now we're going to start out at f3.5, a much higher f-stop than 1.8, so your depth of field is much deeper. You have more things in focus. Now I'm again focused on just that forward bottle, but you can already see that that second bottle is already more in focus. And as we scroll down through the line of bottles, focusing on each one as it goes, you can see that range of focus changing. And when we do the roll, you can see more things get in focus as we roll through, because that focal distance doesn't change. Even when the camera moves, the spot that you're focused on isn't just a spot, it's a wall of focus. It's a plane of focus. Now that was at f3.5. Here it is again at f8. See how much more is already in focus, even though I'm focusing on that forward bottle again, starting right here. Now let's roll the focus down the line again at f8. See how that works? Now that's a 30th of a second, f8, and my ISO has jumped all the way up to 1250 now in aperture priority. Now here it is again at f16. I've got, what, 3, 4 bottles in focus now? As I roll the focus down the line, you can see a lot of change between the sets. As I roll the camera down the line, you can watch that focal distance change with it. And all the way back again. Now just to show you an example, I'm going to take it back to f1.8. And I'm going to roll the focus down the line, and you can see the focal distance change. And see it all come back again. And you can see the bottles come in focus as I roll down the line, because my focal distance isn't changing. I'm not focused on just one spot, I'm focused on a plane. And whatever ends up that distance from the camera is what's going to be in focus. Here's Murphy the cat at f1.8. Hey Murphy! Murphy! He doesn't want to be bothered with being in the video today, but I think you can see the depth of field, especially when I change my focus off of him and bring it back. Hey Murph! Here's Murphy the cat at f16. All I changed was my f-stop. If I shift the focal distance away from him, he still stays pretty much in focus. Okay, so that's basically how focus works. If you have a higher f-stop, more stuff in your frame is going to be in focus. Here I am at f16, and you can see not only me in focus, but the background and all the way back to the lights are all, sharp and in focus, because it's a very wide depth of field, and you get a lot of stuff in focus within the frame. It's a lot different when you use a much lower f-stop, 3.5, 1.8. Wait, I'll show you the difference, because putting it at f1.8, it's more of a glamour type thing, and you really see the big difference. At f16, you're kind of seeing everything in focus, everything is sharp. It's very high def, and those news anchors never look good in high def. Let me show you the difference between f16 and f1.8.
Here's me again at f1.8. And don't I look more that glamorous? That wasn't good.
That was pretty good.